Today we're going to talk about the supine groin progressive or regressive, whatever your therapist from Egoscue happens to give you, but we're going to be talking about the tower. Let's talk about the specific muscle that it's targeting directly, because there are hundreds that it's indirectly targeting, but I want to target this muscle and help you understand why we have you lying on the floor for that amount of time. This muscle right here, mixed with this little muscle right here, these two together come together to form what we call the iliopsoas. The psoas major and minor muscles are here. They come from basically from the spine through the pelvis into the leg bone and attach at this little lesser trochanter marking on this little bone. Actually, this is your leg bone that it attaches to. So think about it. It goes from the upper body or the spine through the pelvic girdle and directly into the leg or the lower extremity. It's the only muscle that does that. That's how important this is to tie the whole system together. Now, I know the fascial system does that, and it's way important, but I'm talking directly about this muscle. So when we look at the iliacus and the psoas, when we go through this exercise and I start to show you how it's affecting at each level, the rotation of this bone, the tilt and rotation of this pelvic girdle, and then the reaction is in the spinal column. So when we go into this in a second, understand this is the muscle group we're talking about. Instead of using our trusty spine model here, we actually have a live human body on the floor in the tower exercise for the Egoscue supine groin progressive using the Egoscue Tower. The tower is a 6-level apparatus that we basically created years ago to stabilize the ankle and the foot in that close to a nice closed packed 90-degree position at the ankle, which we think is very important because the muscles cross the knee joint. Once that foot is locked out and the floor is stabilizing your spine, the change we're going to get is inside the femur bone and how it rotates in the hip joint. So remember, off of our trusty model, we had the big muscle here, the psoas coming down, the iliacus here in the pelvis, but attaching on the inside of the femur bone. And what's going to happen with this is as her mid-back and shoulders kind of relax and open up, she's going to get different rotations in here. Her back will feel like it falls flatter to the floor. And I would say an average is 5 to 10 minutes per level. And the changes are huge in the upper body, but they're a reaction up there where the direct action is just from her lying down and having this elevated. Here's where the direct action is happening within the pelvic girdle. So this is going to be where the change is. We get a million questions, but one of them I think is very important is, what am I supposed to feel while I'm doing this? Well, if you have a lot of pain, you're going to start hopefully feeling a decrease in your symptom. But again, the symptom is not something we're chasing. We're chasing the problem. We're going after the actual posture alignment, the upper body overcompensation, the mid and hip area where the real imbalances show up, and then everything else is that compensation we're going for. So we have the upper body locked, the pelvic girdle or the foot locked, and the reaction is going to be in the middle as the changes are happening here, and then there's going to be a reaction out from that. So this is the Egoscue Tower. We're going to lower her down one level. So it changes the angle where the leg is sitting, and you can see now you really don't feel any change other than maybe your back lifted up a little bit. Yeah, so her low back lifted up off the ground a little bit, which is expected because as I dropped this leg down, that muscle's being dropped to the ground and the other attachment point is being pulled up off, especially because we sit so much, that muscle just becomes short and tight on a daily basis. And I'm sure you've heard that from your chiropractors, your physical therapists, your massage therapists, your personal trainers saying, boy, you have really short, tight hip flexors. You can't just stretch them out in like a kneeling groin. They've got to be released, kind of on the same thing that a lot of these fascial practitioners will do. You got to release that fascia tightness, and it's the same thing with this muscle, the iliopsoas. So now you can see Carmen's in the last position of the supine groin progressive using the Egoscue Tower. In this position, a lot of people rush to get here. They think the goal is to get to the floor. The 5 levels above that are no less important than the other one on the floor. So don't be in a rush to get there, especially those of you with degenerative hips and things of that nature, because you've got to give ample time for your low back musculature and your mid back and your upper back and neck to actually adjust as the hip is being dropped into what we call hip extension, where the leg is dropping down and the pelvic girdle is it's actually being stabilized by the floor. If you have questions about this, feel free to email me directly, painfree@egoscue.com. Thanks for your time.